Welcome to Infinity Capital, everyone. This is Raj. Today we are going to discuss Intellect Design Arena. So this company request has come from Rushil Jain. So we've had a interaction on Twitter, and he wanted to buy a position in this company, and so we were discussing it. So he said if I could make a video on this. So I'm going to do a brief video on this. I haven't done a deep dive, but we'll try and figure out what sort of opportunities lie in this company. Of late, IT companies are trading at all-time high, most of them. Valuations look stretched to me. I traded mid-cap, small-cap IT companies in February, March this year, and we made good profits out of them. So we are out. I'm out of all my positions. So I was holding almost all of those mid small cap IT companies. There was clear revenue and profit traction in these companies, and they were all rallying together. But currently the valuations look stretched. So let's try and find out what Intellect has to offer. So Intellect Design Arena is a company which basically makes software for the banking, central banking, treasury. These are the industries it caters to. Right, market cap is around 10,000 crores. Stock is trading at a PE of 30. ROC is 21. ROE is 21. These metrics were not like this earlier. They have only become better in the mid of 2020 and 2021. Right, promoter holding is 31%. There is no pledge. Price to sales is around 6, so that is pretty decent as compared to its peers. Right, sales growth in the last 5 years is pretty good. Compounded sales growth is 15%. Profit growth is 92%, so that is pretty good. Right, what else? EV to EBITDA of 21, so this is high in my opinion. Okay, and free cash flow. So their free cash flow generation has not been consistent. They've got good cash flow in the in this year. So they've paid off their debt also. So we'll try and find we'll do a bit of a dive into the profit and loss also. On a P ratio, the median P is around 34. Stock is trading at a PE of 30, so it's trading at its median PE. So in my opinion, it's fully priced in. So the next now for the stock to go up, the earnings have to come at a higher clip, right? So let's look at the sales and margin. So if we see, the sales have been continuously going up, and the margins have actually become better, right? So this is the reason why the stock has rallied so much. Let's look at the profit and loss. So if we look at the revenue, revenue growth, the revenue has not actually gone anywhere since 2019. So they were doing 1500 crores, they are at 1600 crores. The major driver has been operating profit margin. Suddenly, the profit margins are coming in at 24-25%. So my guess is that possibly they during this time, 2015, 2020, they were working extensively on the products, and while you are working on the products and making them, so there is a lot of initial cost that is incurred, and that basically weighs on the profitability as well as the profit margins of the company. So my guess is that their products have now started delivering profits for them, right? And that is the reason why we have seen sudden rise in profit margin. So anybody who wants to keep this stock for a long time, for a longer period, for long term, we have to go through the annual reports of the past 5-7 years in order to find out what was happening earlier in the company and what has led to this sudden rise in the operating profit margin, right? So since we are looking at a short-term view on this. I have not read the past 5-7 years of annual report, but if you would like to find out, this is one area that you need to focus on. There has been good revenue growth, so the revenue growth is coming, but profit margin, you have to find out why the profit margin has gone up suddenly. Net profit also has risen. So net profit in the past 3-4 years has almost doubled, gone up by 2.5 times. That is also the reason why the stock has rallied so much. Okay, so now, although this is good, what can be a risk here? If the revenue or the margin sort of go down a little bit, or if they taper out, or if they go flat, we can see the stock going sideways or probably correcting further from here, because in high growth companies, if there is sudden high growth in the company, and if either the margin collapses or the revenue collapse, you will see the stock spiraling downwards. And that has happened in the stock, because if you will see, the stock has been extremely volatile. Now that it is at 700 rupees, it looks very promising. But if you look here, this stock actually went down by almost 85% from its peak in 2019. Okay, and this stock was pretty much trading in this range for quite some time, since 2015 and 2019, for 4 years. But it broke that range and it went down further by another 70%, right? So it broke this range and it went down by another 70%. So there is this inherent risk in these IT stocks that if the margin collapses or if the revenue collapse, this stock can come spiraling downwards. If you see here, let me switch to the daily chart. You see the stock was continuously going down, and then it sort of went up in upper circuits, and stock has been extremely volatile. So something to keep in mind, that in high growth companies, if the revenue doesn't come in, profitability doesn't come in, it becomes a problem. Stock can start falling. Okay, let's look at the balance sheet. So equity has been diluted since 2015. If you see, earlier there were 50 crore shares, now there are 67 crore shares, right? One good thing, borrowings have been trimmed down. This has happened obviously because they've got healthy cash flow this year. So 463 crores of cash flow from operations. So that has helped them deleverage their balance sheet, which is excellent. Their fixed assets have doubled actually. So this is something that needs deep dive, since their fixed assets have doubled. So when we talk about assets, what are we talking about? So we are talking about in terms of, their software capability, in their products. So the products that they are building, that has doubled, because if you see, land building has remained pretty much the same, right? So equipments are a little higher, but if you look at the other fixed assets, right? So intangible assets, there are intangible assets which are at 578 crores. So intangible assets are the assets that are not like your fixed assets. These are your software, your IP. So this company gives out, it sells its software, and it has an intellectual property on it. So that is the asset of the company. So that has doubled. Since the fixed asset has doubled, they are sitting on a lot of operating leverage, which means that if they continuously get deals and continuously get business from their partners, this can propel the revenues on a higher clip. They have around 200 crores of investments, around 95 crores of cash. So roughly around 300 crores they have to deploy for future growth or any capex that they want to do. So the capex for them would essentially be buying computers or probably setting up a new office. Most of the value of the company lies in its IP. right? So that is the most important thing for them. We already saw the cash flow, 463 crores, so that is pretty good. So if they continue to churn out good cash flow from operations, that would be good for them. All right. Investor profile, they hold around 31%, FIIs 27, DIIs 2%. So that's a healthy mix. Around 30% of the stock is with public. So I'd like to see more participation by institutions. You know, that is something that I would like to see. Also, a couple of interesting things on the uh, SAST front. So these guys, the designated persons, so these are employees of the company who have been allotted ESOPs or whatnot. So these guys have been continuously selling. If you see, these guys have been continuously selling, since June. Okay, it's not a huge number, but it does make a material impact on the price of the stock. So if you see, since actually November, December 2020, continuously selling has been happening by, these guys. So in Feb, some White Oak Capital bought 0.09%, but other than that, continuous selling has been happening. Something to keep a note of, the selling is not very material, because if you see transaction, it's 0.05 or 0.01%, right? So it's not much. Okay, let's go on to the investor presentation, find out more about the company. So ranked number 1 by IBS for retail and transaction banking. So guys, we have to understand that IBS could be one entity which has ranked them. There are all sorts of rankings in all businesses. So how we have Miss World, Miss Universe, and then in India you'll have Miss India. Then it can be done by Glad Rags. It can be done by somebody else, right? Even in movies, you have multiple awards. There are multiple awards, Cine Awards, this award, that award, Star Awards. So this ranking matters to a certain extent, but we can't. It's all right. There are multiple rankings that are there. Just imagine there are so many banks all around the world, and there are so many companies catering to these banks. So we have to take it as it is. We can't get too moved by these rankings. So they have 25 years of experience, which is excellent. 97 countries served. World's first design center for fintech. Okay, 30 global partners. So they have around 30 global partners. I'm guessing these are the big banks that they are talking about. 260 global banking clients. Okay. So they are into corporate banking, retail banking, insurance, risk, treasury, capital markets, platforms. These are the sub-segments of the finance that they cater to. One interesting thing that one needs to take into account is that Intellect Design Arena is basically in the global market. And in the global market, especially in US and Europe, those banks are very established and old banks. And there are much bigger, better players out there who are catering to these banks. Also, there is intense competition in this industry. So we need to keep that in mind, that this competition, it's not easy to get deals, right? So this business is extremely fragmented, and in order for them to grow, there is not going to be like how you look at it from this perspective. So there is, in the mobile banking platform, there is iOS and there is Android, right? It's a duopoly, and then you're either on iOS or you're on Android. So it is easier to distinguish. But if you look at our banking platforms, so I use IndusInd credit card, SBI credit card. I have a Kotak bank account, HDFC bank account, and SBI bank account. All three banking account platforms look different. Their ATMs are different. their their even in even in HDFC. So I have HDFC life insurance. So the life insurance platform looks completely different from a from its banking platform. Now, it becomes very confusing for an individual to keep check of everything. So on if I want to log in into my HDFC account, so if I want to log in into my HDFC account, there is a customer ID. But if I want to log in into my SBI account, then there is like a login ID. So multiple things you have to remember, and every platform is different. So you see how platforms will continue to be different because it needs to be distinguished from one bank to the other. There is not going to be one universal platform that everybody uses, and that in turn is not good for business because they will continue to get deals, but it's a very fragmented industry, and there is not going to be one universal platform that everybody is going to use. So it's a difficult business to do. It's not very easy to do this business, in my opinion. So the numbers are pretty good. Obviously, the numbers look good because earlier last year, the numbers were pretty bad, and the year earlier to that. So the revenues were coming in at a higher clip, but there was no operating profit in 16, 17, 15, and then they started making profit in 18, 19, 20. So these numbers look good, but most importantly in this business, what one needs to understand is there is intense competition, and it's a cyclical business, right? So we'll go through the credit rating also in order to find out other things. So these are the deals that they are working on. So they have 26 deals of 20-30 crores each. They have 17 deals of between 30 and 50 crores, 11 deals of above 50 crores, and 54 high value active pursuits, right? So they have added 11 deals in Q1 FY22. So these are the deals that they are working on. So they have around 14,000 crores of order book currently. 1400 or 14,000. I just read it on the credit rating. So we'll find out more about that. So 9 new deals, including 6 platform deals. So their business is spread across the globe. So that is a good thing. So they have the benefit of doing business all around the world is that you have more exposure as to what is happening in different places in the world, and you keep on working and keep on making your software better, your product better. So that is a good thing. All right. So this is their IGTB cloud product. Then so they are talking about their product. What sort of modules do they have? I want to show you one important thing. So core banking system, they have these products in the core banking system, and cash power on. So these are the places where this IGTB product is being used. It's a host of the number of places. That is pretty good. They have a good spread across the world. Then they did a tie-up with Research Bank, right? It's to be a market leader of e-commerce and POS credits. So they did a tie-up with that, right? And then the IDC and iCredit 360. So this is another software that they are talking about, right? To completely understand this business, one needs to have a very good understanding of how deals are won, how good the software is, and it is very difficult to judge, for a layman to understand how good a software is or how good it is not, because we will never get to know exactly who their clients are and what is the feedback from the clients. So you have to make a calculated bet on this. It is not easy to assess this business, in my opinion. Right, let's go through the credit rating. So the credit rating has been upgraded recently, right? Because this is because of the healthy cash flow that they generated and the profitability that came in at a higher clip, right? So what is their strength? Growing presence in software product development and delivery. So they have an established business. and they were a part of, earlier they were a part of Polaris Consulting. So they have around 11 products across various sub-segments of banking and finance, right? So they have spent around over 1200 crores for new product developments. That's a lot of money to spend, and they have put IPs that they own, right? So these are the IPs that they own. There's a lot of work that has gone into this. All right. So healthy demand prospects for products. So with IT services and solutions, BFSI is the largest vertical, contributing to more than 50% of the revenue, right? So banking overall is a cyclical industry, but it will continue to do well. You can't imagine a world without banks. So banks will continue to do well, but we will have that once in a decade sort of a problem wherein banks will go through pain. So currently banks are going through pain, and when banks are going through pain, they will cut down on certain expenses and whatnot. Having said so, banks spend 7 to 8% of their revenue on IT spend, right? And they have to continuously upgrade it. There is something new coming in. Now we may have blockchain coming in, so they'll have to upgrade that. So the business will come for them, but they will have to constantly work on the deals. They'll have to constantly, work on deals, find deals, and get new businesses. One thing could be there is because, see, if a bank is on one platform, it becomes very difficult for them to switch over to another platform. So if they have a good platform, and if it's good and the bank does not want to switch, then the switching cost and the switching issue can help them sort of build their relationship with the banks, and that in turn can basically help them get continued business from the banks. So here they are talking about the improving financial risk profile. Obviously they had 340 crores of cash generation. So this looks pretty good. The financial profile has obviously become better. That is the reason they've got an upgrade, right? So moderate scale of operation. So this company is competing with one of the top companies around the world. The Intellect Design Arena is not the only company which supplies software to the banking industry. So their operations are pretty small right now. The growth is pretty big. The addressable market size is pretty big. But since it's a fragmented industry, it's a very intense competition, one will have to continuously read up, find out what's happening with this company, what sort of deals they are winning, and if they'll have to also continuously work on their products, right? Because some new software comes up, some new technology is coming up, they have to keep themselves updated, right? So working capital requirements remain high, okay, because debtor days are around 187 days. One second, not 187 days. Their working capital remained high because 241 days. The gross current asset days of 241 days compared to 232 days in 2020. So basically it takes a lot of time for them to churn the capital. This is what they are talking about. Intense competition in BFSI, as I was saying earlier. There are so many companies across the globe which want business, so there is intense competition. Also there is cyclicality in the industry. So the industry will go through a boom cycle for 4, 5 years, 7 years. It might continue for 10 years, and then for 3-4 years it will go through a bust cycle. So since Intellect Design Arena's revenues are basically aligned with the banking industry, it will also go through a boom bust cycle, because of the boom bust cycle happening in the financial sector, right? Let's do a technical analysis on this stock. Okay, this stock was trading within this range after its IPO. So it was just a second, guys. It was trading within this range between 120 and 280, 250, 280. Post which it has broken out, and now it is trying to consolidate, right? So what has happened? Why this stock is consolidating. As we see, there has been a shallow selling by individual ESOP owners of the company, right? And also the stock rallied a lot, so it's taking a breath. It is sort of consolidating. Consolidations are good for two reasons. One is it gives the stock a breather to for another rally up, and it gives us also a decent fair time to understand more about the company and take a bet. So what is happening in Intellect Design Arena technically? So technically the stock is going sideways. If you see, the 50-day moving average is going sideways, 200-day moving average is going upwards, right? So I expect this stock to continue to trade within this range. This is the range I'm expecting, 580 and not 890, but 580 and 800 is the range that I'm expecting this stock to continue to trade in. I don't have a position in this stock, as I said earlier, that I was having a conversation with Rushil Jain, and he said that he wanted to take a position. So I've made a video for this. So where do I see opportunity coming into this stock? I will wait for earnings to come in, right, and see what sort of growth is happening in the company, because profitability has risen suddenly from 50 crores. The stock has profitability has gone to 300 crores. Although there is one interesting thing, if you see, the compounded profit growth of past 5 years has been 62%, but the stock growth is only 38%, which means that the market is not pricing it efficiently, or market does not have so much confidence in the stock, right? 3 years of compounded profit growth is almost 90%, but the stock price CAGR is only 40%. So market is not very confident about this company, because if you have sales and profit growth happening at a very higher clip, market should reward the stock. Considering the fact that we are in a bull market, the run on this stock has not been that great, because if you see, from 50 crores, the stock has, from 50 crores profitability, the profitability has gone to 300 crores, but that has come on the back of operating profit margin. Revenue growth has been pretty good, right? So we'll have to wait and find out. Any issues with profit margin, or if the sales go sideways, the stock might correct significantly. So I'm not making a position in this stock, but I'll continue to monitor it. Overall, it looks pretty good. However, the valuations in some of these IT companies are extremely stretched. So I will not make a position here, right? So this was the analysis. Hope, Rushil, you find this helpful. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Remember, this is not a buy-sell recommendation. It's an educational video. Thanks a lot.